Hello and welcome to With Bowl and Spoon, a podcast about people's personal food evolution. I'm your host, Shelly Danko Day. How's everybody doing? It's mind-bending out there. I just really don't know what to think. It's crazy. I heard someone, a couple people say that people that think that government should be run like a business don't understand government or business. And even with my limited experience in government, some experience, significant experience, I remember starting out thinking that things should be simpler. One of the things I used to say all the time was, why can't we just give vacant land to community groups? Why can't we just let people do whatever they want on vacant land? Why can't we just? It was a way I started a lot of sentences. And as I went through the process, I learned why we can't just, why the government can't just. The government is set up with a lot of bureaucracy, which people hate. But if you've never worked in government, or if your time in government was too short, that you never went through an entire process and actually made things happen and saw a project through, you just wouldn't understand that bureaucracy is a system of checks and balances that helps to prevent things like fraud, which is what they're saying is happening all over the place, but I'm pretty sure more is going to happen if we remove all of that bureaucracy. There's a reason the government isn't run like a business, and it's just a matter of not knowing what you don't know. And I used to hate that I understood, finally, why we can't just. But now I realize that it's good knowledge to have. And I can see what's coming down the road, and I'm concerned. So let's just say that, and let's distract ourselves by listening to podcasts and interviews like today's conversation with Justin Lee. Justin Lee is the managing partner of Wild Onyinz Catering Company. Justin is a Pittsburgh native. He grew up working at his family's restaurant in the South Hills, one of Pittsburgh's first two Chinese restaurants. And that's where he learned the importance of caring about customers and the staff and treating everybody like family. I hope you enjoy our talk and keep thinking distracting thoughts. Welcome to With Bowl and Spoon. I am here with my guest today, Justin Lee from Wild Onyinz. Yins like Pittsburgh, Yins. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Well, like you said, my name is Justin. I am the managing partner at Wild Onyinz. We're a new catering company, a new concept here in Pittsburgh that have been operating for about a year and a half now. We do a lot of corporate events, lunches. We've become quite known for our sandwiches, trying to use whole, fresh ingredients that are processed very little. We try to use flavors that are up and coming or very trendy, that are becoming popular. We're always trying to stay ahead of the curve. We do a lot of weddings and larger events, and just trying to appeal to Pittsburgh in general.
I'm curious about, you said you have several partners involved in this. I'm guessing, are many of them from Pittsburgh, or are you just appealing to the Pittsburgh crowd with the name?
I would say most of us are from the area in Pittsburgh. I grew up in Pittsburgh, so my friends and family that are involved are generally from Pittsburgh. We did spend a bit of time out in Las Vegas, so I do have two partners from Las Vegas. But we were all part of the hospitality industry. Lots of experience in that, and it's just something that we all want to explore on our own. We've been in it for so long that we just wanted something of our own.
So when you say we spent time in Vegas, now what does the we mean?
My wife and I.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
okay, I wasn't sure if it was the partners or...
I was born and raised in Pittsburgh, the South Hills to be exact. My family has been in the restaurant business my whole life. We owned Lotus Gardens on Route 51 since 1950 until it closed down. We owned Lychee Gardens in Pine Bridge Mall in Upper St. Clair for the time it was there. So basically, I just grew up here, went to Baldwin High School, went to Pitt, graduated from Pitt, and then when I finished there, me and a few roommates went to Las Vegas. So in the end of 2003, we moved to Las Vegas, and I've been in Pittsburgh and in between Pittsburgh and Las Vegas ever since. In 2015, my wife, she wasn't my wife yet, but she was my girlfriend at the time. We moved back to Las Vegas. We had some job opportunities down there, and we took them. It's a totally different atmosphere down there, and it gives you a little bit different perspective going from the restaurant industry from Pittsburgh to Las Vegas. So we wanted to, dive into that a little more, just hone our skills a little more and get better perspective on how people outside of Pittsburgh were doing things also.
It sounds like you're saying that you went out there to toughen yourself up.
I would say just the opposite, actually.
Okay.
I once put on an application. I was forged in the fires of the service industry in Pittsburgh and refined by the immense volume and refinement of the restaurants in Las Vegas. So they're a bit more polished on there. They want different things. People want different things. Here, I believe people are looking for, or at different times in my career in Pittsburgh, they were looking for, I guess, just heartier items. Everyone wanted the same type of things. Permane sandwiches, huge sandwiches. That's what I think of when I think of Pittsburgh. I think of hardworking people that are blue-collared, grabbing sandwiches for lunch and needing a really big dinner. When I think of Las Vegas, I think of high-paced, very refined foods. Not to say that there's not refined foods in Pittsburgh, because there is. I used to work for a gentleman named Tony Pius, and he was an introduction into the high-end food scene here in Pittsburgh that I really took to, and was one of the reasons I think it stays in my head. So yeah, I don't want to say it toughened me up, but it definitely gives you much more perspective on what other people outside of Pittsburgh want. The way I see it is Pittsburgh is very much a bubble. It's a bubble I enjoy. All right? I'm not going to say it's like a bad bubble. It's a good bubble.
It's useful sometimes as a bubble to stay in and keep your head in the sand. It is.
But, there were Latin flavors that I had never experienced until I went out west. Very much so. It might sound terrible because, I grew up in the Chinese, in Asian food, being that we owned Asian restaurants. But there was a lot of Asian flavors I had never experienced until I went out west. A lot of Asian techniques that, they developed. In Pittsburgh, it's a lot of something successful, let's copy it, and then you have 20 of the same type of things. Where out west, you have a lot of things that are different and lots of definition in between them. I guess that's how I can say it, you know what I mean? So it definitely helped round out my skill set. Otherwise, I would be manning a grill, the same way I had always manned a grill, you know what I mean? But now we use a lot of different techniques and flavors that come more from the West Coast or Asian techniques that I would never have figured out if I never left.
So I guess your family owned Chinese restaurants. Those are both Chinese restaurants, and you worked there. What was your part? What was your role at the restaurants? I'm assuming you worked there as a kid. If your family has a restaurant, mostly the kids work there.
Yes, yeah, I worked there, and I was a very useful dishwasher. Very useful dishwasher. But I learned things like folding dumplings or folding wontons, I learned how to man a register at a very young age. And I was really good at going and getting ice. I'm sure I was more of an annoyance than anything because I followed the waiters around and talked to them all the time. And it was they were family restaurants. It's not the atmosphere that you see today where there's an immense amount of pressure to perform at every level. This was a restaurant. We were treating people like family when they came in, and you were introduced to our family as you did come in. So it was a totally different atmosphere. My dad knew all the customers. My grandfather knew all the customers. we became friends with so many of the customers. My dad can still name just family after family after family that could come in and enjoy food, because we were one of the first 2 Chinese restaurants in Pittsburgh in 1950. Long before I was ever around, we were Pittsburgh's introduction to Chinese. Us in the Chinatown Inn. Chinatown Inn is still downtown. So
yeah, I've been there often. I worked right across the street from it.
My family knows their family, and because of that situation. Everyone in this area still likes that type of food, those type of flavors. But people are all, taste buds are evolving. People are looking for more authentic options. We have some excellent Chinese restaurants now that are much more authentic in the area. That the Chengdu Gourmet is absolutely fantastic. And there's a few of them that are really good. And
I have a soft spot for Hao Li. They have a really nice Szechuan menu, and I just discovered the Szechuan Spice on Center Avenue. Have you been there?
I've not been there.
They got dim sum apparently, so I might try that out this weekend too.
Love dim sum. Yeah.
So growing up, you had these restaurants. Did you always eat at the restaurant?
I ate a lot at the restaurant.
If your parents were both working at the restaurant?
They would at times. My dad never left the restaurant. He worked so much. He was.
Did you live nearby?
We lived very nearby. I lived in Baldwin, and it was on Route 51, right at the edge of Baldwin in Brentwood. If I wanted to see my dad, I went to the restaurant. And there's days where I would go to the restaurant, open it up, and close it down because I wanted to hang out with my dad. That's the only time, otherwise I'd never see him. So I spent lots of time at the restaurant. It's funny to think about it because when you think back at things, I have the perception of a very young child just roaming a restaurant, being a part of the industry.
Behind the scenes.
Yes, very much so. You don't realize everything that's going on. You find these things out as you get a little older, but my grandfather, who started the restaurant, he had a large hand in bringing lots of Asian immigrants over from China. They would come over and they would work in the restaurants and they would become family. They would send their money back to China to their families and or whatnot. And something that a fairly depressing fact that you learn after a little while is these people came over to make sure their families in China were doing well. And when you get older and you can no longer work and it's time to retire, what do you have? You're by yourself. So my grandfather ended up putting them and taking care of them in old folks' homes and whatnot. And there's trips to the old folks' home every Sunday that I hated as a child. I was like, no, not again. But we would always take Chinese food to the old folks' homes because that's where these people who helped him come up, that's where they were. And something familiar to them was always Chinese food. So we would bring it to them once a week, you know what I mean? And now that you look back on it, it's kind of interesting. But he wouldn't have been where he was without them. They were good to him.
Yeah.
And it's not, old age isn't, when you're done in a restaurant, old age restaurants don't treat you so good sometimes. And he wanted to try and change that.
Well, there's not a lot you can do when you can't do the job anymore. And there's no security in that. There's no pension. There's no retirement. Yeah, it's rough.
And you're by yourself in a country that isn't yours.
Yeah. Sending them back wasn't an option.
Some would go, but by that time, generally, they just stayed. They worked till they were pretty old, I remember.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Okay, it seems really obvious that naturally you had an inclination to become a chef.
Yeah.
But is it that obvious? So tell me how that came to be.
To be honest, it was just it was a long road. It was a long road to becoming a chef. I never wanted to be a chef. My family surely didn't want me to be in the industry. Yeah, right? But
did they want you to take over the restaurant?
No.
No. Okay.
No,
just
absolutely
get out.
Yeah.
Go do something else.
They worked. They understood how hard they worked, and they want their children to be doing something with their education that wasn't in a restaurant. You know what I mean? But go be an engineer. You know, I'm Asian. You should be an engineer. You should be whatever. But, you know, I happen to be a restaurant Asian. You know, that's just what I would say. You know, we fall into that category. It was in my blood. I went to college and I started bartending, and boy, oh boy, I had the greatest time of my life. It was super fun. I met the greatest people, and I started bartending at a bar inside of Station Square called Hula Hands.
I remember Hula Hands, yeah.
We did tons of volume, and I met some of my best friends. They are lifelong friends there. In stressful environments such as restaurants, you have to find people you can lean on. You're going through the same things together. Very stressful situations, lots of yelling, lots of craziness, but in the end, you have to depend on each other to get through the night. So you build very good friendships that way. I was lucky enough to go through that in 2 separate restaurants and build family and friends, lifelong friends that way. So basically, when I was in college, I was bartending and I was having a good time. And when I was done, I didn't want to stop bartending, and I went out to Las Vegas to pursue it. And I got my first Las Vegas bartending job at the MGM, and I learned the difference between the high volume situation here in Pittsburgh and the craft cocktail situation, which was just blooming in Las Vegas. The Dale DeGroff explosion of fresh juices and, you know, fantastic cocktails. I learned that you could actually charge someone $16 for a drink and they'd pay for it. Oh my God. Not in Pittsburgh. They throw a beer bottle at you. You know what I mean? So I did the bartending, and then I ended up coming back here and trying to open up a restaurant called Creme on Mount Washington, which never got open. And then I ended up serving for a few different places and bartending here. I bartended at a place called Six Pen Kitchen for a little while, ran the rooftop bar. And then I was a captain at 9 on 9 with my friend Charlie. And so it's a small world in this town. Then we went back out to Las Vegas, and I worked in the casinos and was a captain in a steakhouse for about 6 years. Really enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun.
What were you studying in college?
Political science. I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be a social studies teacher. I liked high school so much, I never really wanted to leave. I liked collegiate education also. I really loved high school and college. Had a really good time. So I thought it would be a good fit. But then that's when I found bartending, and I kind of just never left it.
That sort of took priority, and you were like, oh, this is more fun than teaching high school.
It would have been a huge pay cut to go from bartending, monster pay cut, and it wasn't something I was willing to do at the time. I was worried about partying and having fun and doing things. And
you were right there in the middle of it.
Yeah. It was just the lifestyle. It really was. So in the end, what I found out was, before I really ever became a chef, I found out what people enjoyed eating more than anything. I was selling them the food. I was directly dealing with them on a consistent basis. I had a good feel for what people enjoyed. And not to mention, all my friends were in the food industry, and we ate out all the time too. So when I did start cooking, I started cooking things that everyone enjoyed. The things that I knew what were the solid dishes. You know, I tasted them all. I served them all. I heard the feedback. I had an idea for the flavors people really, really enjoyed. And that's what kind of got me into the kitchen. Once that push happened, I really haven't stopped. The goal was never to be a chef. It just happened. On one of our first caterings, I was cooking, and my wife said, "This feels very natural." And she was like, "You're always having parties and cooking for people and entertaining, and I think this is what you should just be doing. This is what you're best at, is providing food for people, feeding people. And I've never left since. I've been in it since.
It's amazing to have someone in your life that sees you and tells you, oh, you're worried about what to do with your life? This is a thing. You're good at it. It's good for you. Like, this is...
Yeah.
How fortunate. Is she also in the hospitality business?
She is, yeah. We've definitely come up together in restaurants. She was a server in Las Vegas with us. She worked for a lot of great chefs. She works for a great chef right now, Corey Hughes down at Fig and Ash.
All right.
A good friend of ours. So she still serves down there when she's not helping out with us. She does hair too. She likes to do hair. She lets her artistic mind wander a little bit.
When did you guys start Wild Onions?
About 1.5 years ago.
Okay, so you're still relatively new.
We're very new, very new. We wanted to start I want to say that because I'm sure everyone will listen to this, but I wanted to start a restaurant. But the pandemic, after talking to people and just talking to everyone, they were like, maybe you should do catering. It's changed the formula. The formula has changed. A lot of the formulas that catering companies use to profit before, they are now, they're not working. The food cost is too high. The labor is too high for those formulas to work anymore. And if you can readjust the formula before anyone else can, then maybe we can eat up a lot of market share in this area. You know what I mean? And that's what we're looking to do. We're not looking to do everything the same way that it's always been done. We're looking to take care of people when they work for us. You know, this is an abusive industry if you allow it to be. It can be very abusive, and that's something I would like to have no part in. I would like it to be much more, I don't know, just more friendly. You know, we came up together and we're not going to treat each other like crap, so we should all work together. And I believe in paying people well, and I believe for them to work hard. I want the same respect that I give. There's nothing I won't do. So I hope that you'll put in an equal amount of effort, because I'm going to pay you more than anyone else is generally. You know what I mean?
Well, hopefully that'll lead to employees that stick around for a while.
Yeah.
And are more loyal. And yeah, I mean, that's a really refreshing perspective, because so many people, I get the feeling that they're like, well, I went through it. It's just the rite of passage. You go through it too until you do your own thing, and then you make the money. But no, it's an abusive situation.
It's abuse is what it is. That's what it is, yeah.
And with the business owners not taking responsibility for paying their staff and letting the charity of the customers pay their staff. And that's a rotten way to be. And I don't appreciate that as a consumer.
Of course.
So
when we do an event, everyone gets paid. We're not sending people out there for $2.83 an hour and praying our guests tip them. Because it takes one bad night to throw off a week. And I've experienced it, I've felt it, and I've seen it. You know what I mean? So that's not something I want people working for me to go through. Especially, nonetheless, most of my employees are my friends to begin with. You know what I mean? They're super experienced. They're super good at what you're doing. You're not getting just some random person who's throwing food at you. You know what I mean? You're getting a trained professional. Someone with a little couth who understands how to make people happy. This is what we're here for. You know, it's hospitality. So everyone gets paid. They're getting an hourly wage of at least $25 an hour. And then if someone feels so inclined to tip on top of that, it goes to them. It's theirs. You know what I mean? And that's it's not expected. I'm already paying them. But if they've done such a good job, who am I to tell you not to? You know what I mean? It's your money. This is America.
Right. When I imagine catering, I order catering from you and then you deliver it and leave. That's not what you guys do.
No, we do events.
Okay.
We can do that sort of catering. When we go to corporate entities downtown, let's say they want sandwiches for lunch. They're doing a deposition. They want lunch boxes or something like that. We'll go in, we set everything up, and we present it in a very professional, beautiful way. So people can come up, grab sandwiches, grab chips, grab cookies, pickles, salad, whatever they want. And it looks good. It's presented well. It's something that impresses your bosses. That's what I like to always tell them. If you're looking to just eat something and get through it real quick, maybe we're not for you. But if you're looking to impress someone, you're looking to take care of someone who works for you, that's what we're here for. We're not here just to feed you.
Can I ask you about your sourcing?
Sourcing, yes, yeah. We do whatever we can to keep it down. We use a few different farms depending on what's available, and we used to do a lot of like farm to table concepts. We found that our customer base isn't interested in that entirely. You know what I mean? And that's fine.
Unfortunately, I do know what you mean.
Yes.
Being in the local food scene for, 20, 30 years. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not interested in it. We're lucky, most of us, if you're calling me, you're in a fortunate situation to be able to purchase food.
Yeah.
You often won't know those struggles that others know. You know what I mean? So perception's a hell of a thing. And I don't want to criticize people for their perception. So we'll use Freedom Farms on occasion, depending on what we're looking for. We just like to use the best tasting ingredients when they're tasting best, Yeah. Sweet corn. Right now. This is when we do corn. Right now. This is when tomatoes are best. Right now. Let's do it. Not to say that we won't use tomatoes like in the winter, because we will. we will.
Somebody's growing them.
Right. I heard a quote once from a chef named Marco Pierre White. He said, nature's the true star here. We're trying to put forward its beauty. Just don't fuck it up. You know what I mean? So when tomatoes are at their best, process them the least, right? When they're in the winter, we're going to marinate them with a little bit of olive oil, garlic, salt, and pepper to create a softer, more enjoyable tomato, But when they're perfect, let's not mess them up. Put them on there. A little salt and pepper will be perfect. You know what I mean? Go with it.
So does your menu change seasonally, or is it pretty much the same all year round?
No, it's always changing. We're a completely customizable, full-service catering company. My goal when you contact me is to find out what your vision is, okay? I'm not super interested in what we did last week or what we did last year. I'm interested in what you want, what you see. I then will take my experience and try and make it possible for you within your budget. If you see something like you want to caprese skewers, we'll make that happen no matter what time of the year it is, but I'll let you know this may not be the best time of the year for that. You know what I mean? I'm just going to use my experience in the situation to give you the best advice I can for your vision. And we make that vision happen either way. That's the way we like to look at things, Tell us what you want, and I'll tell you whether it's a good idea or not.
Do you ever have ideas and you're like, oh, this is something that I need to start pushing on people. Everybody needs to experience this.
No, because we're not really all built the same.
That's true, but you get excited about something, you're just like, oh my god, everybody needs to know about this. You need to try this.
I'm a walking, changing billboard for food. When I taste something that's just unreal, I'm always trying to share it. Yeah.
Well, what's on the billboard right now?
What's on the billboard right now? Right now we're doing an outrageously popular candied bacon BLT sandwich. So
God, that sounds amazing.
Yeah. So what preparation is what makes our stuff so good. We take time to do these things. So we're taking a spiced candied bacon peppers, jalapenos, red peppers, marinating, roasting it off, candying it up crisp. So we're doing it in 2 batches. One batch for 3 minutes shorter than the other. So you're getting chewy bacon and you're getting crunchy bacon. You're getting 2 textures in there. We're lightly toasting sourdough bread with butter. And then at this point in time, we're marinating beefsteak tomatoes with the olive oil, the garlic, the salt, and the pepper so that they have the right texture when you're biting into them. We're using arugula, and we're doing an avocado aioli across it. So we're spreading the avocado aioli. We're using a fontina cheese. We're putting that bacon down, the marinated tomatoes, the arugula. So when you end up biting into it, the creaminess of that avocado aioli is going to cut through the sweetness of that bacon. It's going to balance out with the bitterness of that arugula. And that sourdough, it exists. You know what I mean? You're like, ooh, I can smell that sourdough. It's not just some crubby sourdough, you know what I mean? It's not just some white bread out there. This is a lot of thought went into balancing these flavors. Another flavor that I'm just really into, it's not super new because it was more like last spring. I had made these outrageous sweet corn angelottis. They were so good. I had this, like I was talking about earlier, I got this corn and it was so good. I was like, I'm just going to buy a ton of it and we're going to figure out things to do with it. You know what I mean? That's, So one day I was just like, angelotti. Saute a little bit of onion, some white wine, break down the corn, heavy cream, roll it in a little angelotti, create a nice pan sauce to it.
What is an angelotti?
It's a stuffed pasta.
Okay.
So what you're doing is you're creating like a real thick corn stew, okay, with heavy cream, a little bit of tarragon, and then you get it real cold, okay? What you're doing is putting it in a whole pan, and then you spread it across it real thin, and then you get it super cold, and you scoop it out with little scoops, and you put it in fresh made pasta, and then you fold the pasta, and it's called an angelotti. It's kind of like a ravioli except smaller.
Like a little dumpling of some sort.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you boil it off, and you serve it. So
with the sauce, or
with the sauce, we caramelized onion brown butter sauce is what we were doing. You know what I mean? And then that richness of that butter cuts right through the sweetness of the corn and the heavy cream and the tarragon. You know what I mean? It's phenomenal.
That sounds really
phenomenal.
great. Yeah.
That's something that has been haunting me for this year. We didn't sell many of them, but I made lots of them and took them around for dropping them off at Christmas and stuff like that. So yeah, that's something that if I could say to people, you need to try, I think people would really enjoy it. But it's not something that's popular in this area, you know what I mean? We have a lot of great sources for great food around here, and it's absolutely fantastic. Like you can't get the lamb out west that you can get in this area. Nowhere near, The farms for lamb out here are outrageous. They're so good. So you can get some great products as long as you're willing to adjust your perception from wherever you learn to cook. Like if you were cooking in southern Italy, all the time, you're not going to get the same products here. So you have to be able to adjust a little bit. You have to be able to find out what people like and then provide them with what they like with a twist. Provide them with a familiar flavor, but a road to try something a little different while trying it. You know what I mean? Something familiar, but something different. That's what I believe is the key to taste buds in this area. Hardiness and all that, yeah, that still exists. But when you can show someone that they like something that they didn't know they liked, but you got them to taste it because they had something on that plate that they're very used to, or a flavor that you can compare it to, then, you've succeeded. And now they're going to try it. Other places here, it's just good for the area to evolve,
So what's new coming up this year for your business?
We are redoing our Digital presence, we are going to expand into a lot more weddings. We're going to build relationships with a lot of venues. That is my goal as the managing partner this year, is to build as many relationships with successful venues as possible. Venues are popping up all over, and I want to build personal relationships with these people, lasting personal relationships. That's what matters to me. I want it to be good for everyone. And when you have excellent relationships, then you have a little bit of trust. Work is easier. Work is better. That's what I'm looking to build. We're looking to do this as a group. No one person can get as far as a lot of people working together, believing in what they do. That's the motion I want to start this year. That's the goal I'm setting. There's a lady named Cabrera we have been in contact with. She has a cheese operation in Ohio. It's right on the other side of the border of Pennsylvania and Ohio. Yeah, very close to Steuben.
Okay.
She provides cheese to market districts and all that. She had some extra room, and she's building a wedding venue now, and we are going to be one of her exclusive caterers to this venue. This is the type of relationships I want to build. That's how we want to build business. We want to do it right. We live this life once. We want to have great relationships. We believe in relationships more than anything else. We just happen to make good food. You know what I mean? I believe in people. And if I'm going to fail, it's going to be because I like people and I trust people, you know? I'll be okay with that then. But we're all going to do it in this situation. And we're all going to come up in a way that we're all just going to be doing well and be happy. That's what we're looking for. Nothing crazy, but we're going to do it together.
Where can people find out about your business?
Well, wildonyinz.com. We're spelled W-I-L-D, Onyinz, O-N-Y-I-N-Z. I'm trying to, let our inner yinzer come out.
It's very good. It's such a good name.
Thank you.
I love it.
Yeah, you can get in touch with me through the website. Google us. We're Googleable.
Excellent.
And we're out here in Sharpsburg. We're not far from downtown. We're pretty centralized to the Pittsburgh area, and we do travel quite a bit.
All right,
Justin.
Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you being on my podcast.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you getting in touch. Yeah.
Everyone knows that food is cool. No secret. Eat that food with a bowl and spoon. Everyone knows that food is cool. No secret. Eat that food with a bowl and spoon.
With Bowl and Spoon is written, produced and hosted by Shelley Danko Day. Original theme song was written and performed by Paul LeBreeze and Friends. You can listen to With Bowl and Spoon wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe, like, review and share. Follow us and send us questions or messages on Facebook and Instagram at With Bowl and Spoon. Thanks for listening.